Hello and welcome back to Hawks podcast. It is a glorious Tuesday as both our teams got a victory this past Sunday, or in Matt's case, Monday. And not only that, the Packers lost, which is amazing. They're no longer in the lead in the North. It's great. And just so you know, Daniel Jones just got sacked again.
And again, and again.
Yes, throughout this video, Daniel Jones will get sacked multiple times. But we will
Somewhere,
like to
somehow.
we're going to start off celebrating each of our team's victories. Let's start off with the most recent one with the Seahawks, just putting the hurt on the Giants. As you can see with the image here, this happened to Daniel Jones 11 times, tying a franchise record for the Seahawks. Matt, how you feeling about that game?
It was actually 10 times. We got one on one of their wide receivers who it was on a reversal play where they were trying to throw the ball and he got sacked. So Daniel
Wow.
Jones specifically 10 times, but overall 11.
Well,
Um,
still tying the franchise record as a team,
yeah.
still awesome.
And even with that, Geno Smith only getting sacked twice with that makeshift offensive line. So I don't want to hear any Giants fans complaining about how, oh, well, we were missing for a majority of our offensive line. Seattle was too. Get good. Um, Kenneth Walker and Zach had a pretty decent game. Drew Lock, when he had to come in for those few plays, played pretty well. 2 of 6 for 63 yards, 10.5 average, and had that huge pass to Noah Fant. That was basically a screenplay that turned into I don't even know. It was like, what, a 50 something yarder?
I think that was Disley, but yeah,
No, it was Fant.
really,
Yeah.
they got his name
Yeah, it
wrong
was a
on the
51
broadcast.
yarder to
Then
Fant.
interesting, they got his name wrong on the broadcast. Then they were
It's
calling
Disley's
Disley's
hurt
number.
currently.
Interesting.
Um, and we had multiple guys with sacks: Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, Devin Witherspoon, who had himself a game. Three QB hits, two sacks, a pass defended, pick six basically, and overall seven total tackles. Bobby Wagner still playing out of his mind. Only real bad thing about the game was just the offense kind of struggled to begin with, but when our defense plays like that, that's fine. Sadly, the Giants aren't that good of a team. They've been outscored, I believe it's 64-3 in home games so far.
Hmm.
So yeah, they are not good. And Daniel Jones, this might be his final year, even if they can't move off of him.
Yeah, they've got some work to do. That's putting it mildly.
So going on to your uh, Vikings Panthers game that was looking like it was turning bad real quickly. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so going into this one, like I said, my confidence level was just over 50%. Like this might be one of the only games I feel confident in picking the Vikings in, and my confidence was tested real quick. We drive down the field, our rushing attack was looking great. Madison was getting at least 5 yards of carry, which was great to see. We even got Cam Akers in there a little bit, but that wasn't until later, so I'll bring him up in a little bit. But get down into the red zone off of a PI on Jordan Addison, which was his only target of the game. Uh, get down to the red zone and Kirk throws a 99-yard pick six. So definitely leaves a sour taste in your mouth, and you think that the game's getting quickly out of hand as we can't seem to gain momentum. Uh, then all of a sudden, we march down the field, get a touchdown to JJ. Obviously he ramps up the team. Then Harrison Smith, who had himself a monster of a game, arguably his best for the team statistically uh in his career, which is saying a lot because this is a Hall of Fame caliber safety. Uh he forced a fumble on Bryce Young, which led to the touchdown for DJ one of our edge rushers who got the scoop and score. That quickly changed the momentum. That made it 14-13 because the Panthers kicked a couple field goals. And after that, the Panthers did nothing. Our defense came out to play. We got, I believe, 5 sacks as a team, uh, and lots of TFLs. Uh, and I mean, it was a great sight to see that our defense was actually good or look appeared to be good. Again, we're playing the Panthers, so we really don't know how much we got to see, but the pressure was actually hitting home. We got to see Marcus Davenport for the first time on the Vikings, former first round pick by the Saints. He was a low risk, high reward type signing in the offseason. So we had been waiting to see him play. I'm speaking for all Vikings fans, and he came out and had himself a day, putting on that pressure on the opposite side of Neil Hunter. So just seeing our defense kind of work like that, it was amazing. But yeah, Harrison Smith had himself three sacks. That forced fumble had the game sealing sack at the end there. It was interesting having to rely on our defense more than our offense that game. Kirk was not having a good day. Good day. I would have thought this was Monday night if the sun wasn't out. Uh, he didn't do too well. Then again, the one of the interceptions was on Ed Ingram, our starting guard, who I will always call to be benched because he is the one responsible for sacking Kirk Cousins last year, and he has now caused 2 of Kirk Cousins' turnovers this year. First, the fumble that he punched out of his arm against the Buccaneers, or maybe it was the Eagles. One of those 2 games, and now he hit Kirk Cousins' arm while he was throwing for his second interception, um, in the Panthers game. So if that isn't enough to get you benched, I really think he just has dirt on everyone in the Vikings organization. That or they just for some reason can't find anybody else to play guard. And Dalton Risner just hasn't gotten accumulated to the playbook yet. That's the only reason I can think of why this guy's not on the bench yet. But we had a great rushing attack, 128 yards as a team, and that's only on 20 carries. So that was great to see the dichotomy between Madison and Cam Akers. Looks like Akers is a great addition to our team. They also got involved in the receiving game, so you love to see that. Definitely want to see more of Jordan Addison and passing the ball downfield, but I like that we finally showed that they have to respect the run. And it kind of helped in our game. And we shut down their offense, and that made it pretty easy for us to just keep running out the clock. So just happy that we got a win, and happy that your team got a win too. So we get a mutual celebration this week.
Just as a quick side note, I forgot to say earlier, Jamal Adams was supposed to make his return on Monday. He played for a few downs and he looked really good. Had a huge tackle for loss on that drive, but luckily, not really luckily, but still unfortunately, he kind of suffered from a freak injury where he was trying to tackle Daniel Jones on a QB scramble, and he kind of got a knee to the head, where that knocked him out of concussion. Luckily, that's something where we're going into our bye week, and that's something where you can get in concussion protocol, get through the proper procedures, and make sure he's good to go for 2 weeks against the Bengals. But that was really unfortunate to see just to start off the game. Kind of felt like an Aaron Rodgers type scenario on that one.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, because Harrison Smith had such a day on Sunday, I was hoping Jamal Adams was going to do the same for the Seahawks, and we were going to put both of them on the screen as we normally do for one Seahawks player and one Vikings player. It was going to be great to have both safeties up there, and so then we tossed around the idea of doing Witherspoon since he had that great pick. But then once the Seahawks hit a record, uh, we kind of talked about it and we were just like, yeah, we got to have Daniel Jones getting sacked because that we just got to do it. So definitely hurt seeing him go out, but hopefully he only misses 1 game maximum. He might miss the game after your bye week, but after that, if concussion protocols have told me anything from the last year, he'll be back after week 6. So
Well, it usually takes him
that
around a week or two, so hopefully he's back for in 2 weeks.
right. Right. So there
But
we go. And then also luckily for the Seahawks, Geno Smith had to come out during the second quarter, rolled up his ankle, it seemed like, on a play.
It
They
was
didn't
his
really
knee.
show it on the broadcast. His knee. Okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
forgot what the player's name was, but it wasn't a horse collar tackle, but the way they both fell kind of made it, and the guy kind of fell like into Geno Smith's knees. Geno came out after the play, and then went right back on and basically went and started like screaming at the guy, and even at the end of the game, basically called it a dirty play. It's just one of those unfortunate plays where it's out of bounds, just give up on the play, even though the contact started inbounds. It's just you gotta be more thoughtful on that one. But him playing the rest of the game was good to see, and he has 2 weeks to rest it and get back into form for that Bengals game in 2 weeks.
for sure, for sure. And I also do have to say I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you. Because of this game, Daniel Jones, I believe, is sacked more than Kirk Cousins this season. So now our GM is going to look at that and go, "Oh, cool, our offensive line works. We don't need to make any changes." So, you know,
Well, we're
you
also
had to do
sorry
that.
for
You
the
had to
rest
do
of the
that to
NFC
us.
East because now this is probably going to make them move on from Daniel Jones and actually get a good quarterback.
I don't know. Our previous defensive coordinator just got him that contract. So
Well, then he just lost it, Tyler.
that's
You
true.
made him look good. We made
We
him look
did.
terrible.
Yep. That that you did. Yeah.
2 picks, 1 fumble, 10 sacks. I think the furthest they threw the football was 7 yards down the field.
And that was the interception for the touchdown.
No,
Yeah, it was.
mm-mm. They got further passes than that.
Really.
That was like a 5 yard, not even 5 yards. They were like second and goal at something at like the five.
Oh, we need to start a dispute with the Manning cast. I had to watch the Manning cast because the other one wasn't cutting in well. So they were saying how that was the longest pass they had thrown at that time. So maybe they did throw one later on in the game, but
Well,
I
it's
was
like
watching. They did not
there's one
attempt
of
much
our
downfield.
defensive linemen lost their mother at some point, and he basically does in sign language before the game, basically, I love you. Um, and they were saying that it was him praying for Daniel Jones. So I don't really trust everything they say.
Interesting. Huh. Wow. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean that's tragic to hear, but I mean great that he was able to get a win. So his mom was definitely watching over and he had himself a ball game and as did the rest of your entire defense. So but yeah, I was just making a joke. All Vikings fans want Ed Ingram out. We want changes on the offensive line. We've been calling for it for decades. So, it's just a small little joke that they'll change something eventually. Just how long we have to wait for it is the only difference. But going around the rest of the league, because we've now celebrated each of our teams, I guess enough that, we don't need to anymore. We had a couple surprises this week. I mean, we can start out with a Thursday night game with the Lions coming in and hurting the Packers. Like that was such a glorious game to watch. I loved every second of it. And no, that's not even a Jordan Love pun. Um, I just enjoy watching the Packers suffer. I know that's probably a sin or something akin to it, but it's just great when the previous kings of the North for decades on end finally get put in place. And I couldn't be happier that it is the Lions. So, you know, after the Packers, the Bears are the second most, not liked team for me in the division. And I actually don't have a problem with the Lions at all. I love MCDC. That's a coach who players would run through a brick wall to play for. So I love that mentality they're building over there, even if they are biting kneecaps off. Uh, so I mean, I loved everything about that game. That was amazing.
Well, kind of just to quickly recap some of the games because a lot of these games weren't even close. Like Cowboys Patriots 38-3.
Yeah,
Ravens destroyed the Browns 28-3. Texans
that
CJ
was
Stroud
unexpected.
looking amazing right now. Definitely looking after the first few weeks, now he's kind of pulling ahead of those three quarterbacks. Him, CJ, or Bryce Young, and Richardson. Um,
I'd say
basically,
Richardson's still in the mix, but yeah,
Richard,
CJ
they're
Stroud's
all still in the mix, but CJ Stroud slowly pulling ahead. Um,
right.
Titans destroyed the Bengals 27-3. Cardinals kept it close, but not really 35-16 against the 49ers. Um,
The Chargers almost chargered it again.
well, that's just the Chargers. Um,
But when Khalil Mack gets 6 sacks himself in a game,
yeah. Um, Chiefs, Rams. Who else? I guess that's
and
not
yeah,
it.
they went into overtime, as did the Eagles and the Commanders. So we had a couple of overtime games this week.
Well, I was going to say that it was just basically Eagles, Rams, and Chiefs all basically almost choked their leads massively.
Absolutely. If Taylor Swift wasn't there, the Jets won the game. That's my firm opinion.
If I see Taylor Swift on another freaking broadcast, like it's cool and
Well,
all,
I'm
I
gonna
just don't.
foreshadow a little bit, Matt, but we'll probably see her Sunday in Minnesota.
Well, it's not a home game, so that might make the difference.
Well, the Jets game wasn't a home game either.
This
That
is
was at the
fair.
Jets.
Still, maybe
But
she
I mean,
doesn't want
I
to
get your
travel to
point. That's New
Minnesota.
Jersey, close to New York, so I mean,
Maybe she
maybe
doesn't want to travel to Minnesota. Doesn't
it
want to
is a
see all the dead
possibility. But
birds.
she's played there before, and I think she has it again on her tour. So I think she
She
likes
want
the
to see all the
stadium.
dead birds.
Maybe that'll scare her away. And
Also, Vikings is
anything
a
to give us
very
a fighting
threatening
chance.
name.
What is now?
Vikings is a very threatening name.
Oh yeah, of course.
Um, but yeah, Sam Howell's looking actually decent.
As I said, I told you at the beginning I liked how he looked at the end of the season. I'm loving his progression.
Tyler, he played one game
I know. I know.
against the Cowboys
But
like
I saw
backups.
something in him at the end of the season last year. I was like, this guy's good. I think they've got their guy. And even though they've lost a couple games, they've fought. They've had some good games. Taking the Eagles to overtime at Philly, it's a tough task to do.
Well, one game that turned out to be a blowout, but not for the reason we expected it. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Carr played. Carr
Yep.
sucked,
Hmm.
and Tampa Bay wins by 17.
Yeah.
We also had a
Uh,
Godwin sighting, 114 yards this week.
Godwin really balled out. I think Mike Evans left early in that game
He was a little
with some
banged
type of
up.
injury, came back in. Um, there was some fighting between him and Lattimore like usual, but I don't think it resulted in anything too serious like it did last year. But yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers have already hit the total amount of wins that you said they would hit this year. So I guess they're going 0 and 13 to end the season.
Well, they played the Lions, Falcons, Bills, Texans, Titans, 49ers, Colts, Panthers, Falcons, Packers, Jaguars, Saints, Panthers. So completely possible.
It's possible, but they got some division matches to play. They've got a couple wins, but
Well,
they're looking like a great team right now. They're like I said that like I told you at the beginning, their defense is stacked. So and Baker Mayfield is finally getting into a rhythm. So maybe Baker Mayfield heard all the haters and maybe heard us saying like this could be his last chance, and he's stepping up. Got to give him
he
credit where
also
credit's
has the
due.
best weapons of his career.
That's true. That's true. Finally, give him a team and see what he can do. And he's proven the haters wrong so far. We'll see if he can keep it up.
Well, speaking of a team that's going to suck this year, actually, Bears
Oh
28 to
yeah, the
7.
Bears and the Broncos, the real tank bowl.
Tank Bowl.
See, the Vikings Panthers, while yes, it was also a tank bowl, 0
It
and
was
3
a suck
teams.
bowl.
If the Vikings could just stop turning the ball over, the Vikings wouldn't even be in the tank bowl. So,
No, that was just a suck bowl, Tyler.
yeah. We were stuck losing now. Now at least we know how to win at least once. So, we'll see. But
Maybe.
I think we could all agree if those four teams were to all play each other on different weeks, the Vikings would be the one seed in that team. Or in like they would finish with the most wins.
Debatable. Kirk Cousins would choke it somehow.
Well, assuming all Sunday games.
Mm,
I don't know.
is
Then
it
then again, I mean,
prime time?
seeing him in Carolina, that wasn't the best. But I don't know. The Bears are the worst. We can agree with that.
Yeah.
Uh, I still don't. I mean, the Broncos only beat him by 3, and they let Justin Fields jump out to a 28 to uh was it 7 or 3 lead? Like it was a
28 to
huge
7.
lead. Yeah. I mean, so that defense is major sus to me right now. Kudos to them stepping up in the second half though. Um, but I mean, man. And the Panthers, they're developing Bryce Young. So I mean, they're experiencing their growing pains early.
Well,
But
when Russell
anyway,
Wilson has 223 yards and three TDs, I feel like Russell isn't the problem anymore.
yeah, that I think it's the defense. Russell Wilson didn't give up 70 points to the Dolphins. Russell Wilson did not give up 28 points to the Bears. So,
And they're no longer only scoring less than 16 points a game.
hey, yeah, they broke that. It's
Due
amazing.
to 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and then the one of the major shockers that, for us was the Bills establishing that dominance over the Dolphins, finally silencing one of the undefeated teams. Both of us picked the Dolphins as they had shown no signs of being able to be stopped. Let alone it comes against a divisional opponent, which is usually how things like that go. But I don't think we would have expected it to be as big of a game for the Bills as it was. Like I think we probably would have expected 48 to 41, somewhere around there. But man,
The Dolphins
that
ran out of touchdowns. They need to
yeah,
regenerate
that
all their TDs.
the NFL saw the Dolphins Broncos game and was like, hey, you maxed out your touchdowns for 2 weeks. You gotta cool off a little bit. So it was a good way to look at it.
And
And
it's
yeah,
also,
I
I feel
mean,
like, with that game being in Buffalo, once it gets back down to Miami, we might see it flip and it just turns into whoever has the best record. And if they meet in the playoffs, who has home field advantage. And
that's also true.
so far with that Jets loss, that's going to hurt. I feel like that's going to come down and hurt Buffalo in the end.
Interesting. Interesting.
Those
Yeah.
types of games usually does come back to bite a team.
Yeah, I mean, the divisional record definitely does come back, and the fact that they couldn't do that week one, I mean, yeah, I'm just a bit. I'm just interested. I mean, we could have been too harsh on the Bills. They're looking like a great team. I know White was just injured; he's out for the season, so it sucks to see that. But I mean, they've got some serious pieces on that team, and they've come out and shown it ever since week one. They've made serious adjustments. So kudos to them. But we'll see how it pans out. I'm still confident in Miami's offense, assuming that Tua stays healthy. Knock
I
on
also
wood.
feel like with their, especially their defense, once you get Jalen Ramsey back later in the year, that defense will start to shore up. They just need to get healthy again. So
There you go.
rather have them healthy for the playoffs than have them play all year and then get hurt before it. So let them get healthy, get a full defense, actually have someone to cover Stephon Diggs rather than having him get what, three touchdowns was it?
Yeah, 3 touchdowns and almost 200 yards, I think. So,
Something stupid.
yeah, my opponent had him in fantasy, so I know all about it.
That must hurt.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, Stephon Diggs, Puka Nakua wasn't a great opponent to be facing this week.
So,
But yeah, we've got a new segment for you guys, which Matt is going to unveil.
so going into the quarter of the year, well, with quarter of the season done already, um, looking at the teams that are either at a 500 record or less, yeah, who should press the panic button? I'm gonna go down a few teams. Now, if it's like the Bears, that yeah, it's kind of a done deal that they should have been pressing the panic button like 5 weeks ago. Not really going to go over those, but some of those teams that we thought would still be in contention, but are starting to not look that great. Starting off with probably the biggest one so far, Tyler. How do you feel about Cincinnati 1-3? Time to press the panic button.
I think it is. And it's not necessarily about their record. It's the fact that they keep trying to trot Joe Burrow out there. And I know that he's competitive and he wants to be out there. They did manage to get that win against the Rams, but we were talking about this a little bit before we started the podcast. Joe Burrow just hasn't, obviously he's had the calf, so he hasn't been able to be as mobile as he used to be. So, but we're not expecting the scrambling. He just hasn't had any pocket mobility either. Like he can't make a simple sidestep to get out of the way of a pressure. He's getting pushed back, but like his own offensive linemen are getting pushed back towards him, and he's getting sacks or having to throw the ball away when he would normally just take another step and find the guy downfield. And as a result of that, most of it is resulting in just no offense being there for the majority of their games so far. It's been their defense that has kept them in it, or has allowed them to win some of these games. Uh, Many people forget the Bengals actually don't have a good O line. It's been Joe Burrow's ability to create plays and move around in the pocket or scramble to be able to make the big plays they need. And they always go for the first read for the big play most of the time. And I think that part of that falls on coaching with Zach Taylor. And I think that part of it, also is Joe Burrow needs to get healthy. And I think that this season it might not be theirs because if they can't find a way to get quick passes out and uh, give Joe Burrow a little bit of mobility, then I don't think they're going to be able to come back from this deficit. And I mean, they're a great team, but when Joe Burrow can't move, he needs his athletic ability more than he's let on. He's not Tom Brady, and he doesn't have the O line that Tom Brady had.
So probably
What
actually
about
just
you?
going to go down the 1-3 teams because if you're two and two right now, that's not really much to go off of. Especially early in the year, it's easy to be at 500. So three other teams I want to talk about. First off, starting with your Minnesota Vikings, is it time to press the panic button?
No, I actually don't think it is. Um, so a lot of the Vikings fans, when we looked at this schedule when it first came out, we knew the meat of our schedule was the first 8 weeks. We saw a lot of definite losses in there, being the Eagles, Niners, and the Chiefs. We saw a couple of 50-50 matches, being the Chargers, the Packers, maybe even the Buccaneers, which turned out to be a loss. So I mean, you see the meat of our schedule being in those first 8 weeks, and then it doesn't really look like we have it didn't really look like we had too much of tough opponents until later on when we faced the Bengals week 15, then we faced the Lions twice. But with now how the Bengals are looking, especially, and how all the other teams are shaking out, the Raiders don't look great. Broncos are the Broncos still. So we face the rest of the AFC West. We still face the rest of the NFC South, which I think is still a competitive division. I think they can steal wins from us. We can steal wins from them. I really think that is still possible. So I think that we had a rough start losing to the Buccaneers for sure. a lot of Vikings fans wrote off the Eagles game. The fact that we fought back and made that a one-score game is probably better than any Vikings fan expected. Uh, the Chargers, it was going to be a coin flip. No pun intended, but like the Chargers are the AFC versions of us. So one of us was going to win it, one of us was going to lose it. Uh, so I mean, you look at that, and then the Panthers were one of those games that we Vikings fans would look at, was like, all right, we're going to win this one. Chiefs is an automatic loss, upcoming. Don't really know, but then we got the Bears, got the Packers, got the Niners, which is going to be another loss. But I mean, after we got those 8 weeks, and if we can stop fumbling the ball, I think that'll be when we actually start to see if we need to hit the panic button or not.
I would
We
say
just
you're
knew it was going
more
to be a
the
tough start.
Raiders of the NFC, but we can debate that another day.
I mean, both Chargers and the Vikings are skilled in the art of choking. So,
No, that's the Falcons, Tyler.
I mean, yeah,
You
but
do not know the
also
choke as strong as they do.
the Chargers and the Vikings also have high octane offenses. The Raiders do not.
Well, they have two great wide receivers and a bad quarterback.
This is true,
How you didn't
but
fight that? I expected
but
more.
I mean the Raiders do, yeah. But I mean, Kirk Cousins is average, as we've said, maybe slightly above average, and Justin Herbert is above average. So
I'd say I'd
I
take
see a
Justin
lot more
Herbert
similarities
over.
between the Chargers and the Vikings than I do the Vikings and the Raiders.
Well, it's just you have an incompetent head coach rather than one that will choke the game.
Yeah, Vikings head coach isn't really comparable to either of them yet. I haven't figured out Kevin O'Connell. He's got to fight through adversity before I can see if he's a Brandon Staley or a Josh McDaniels or if he's neither.
Well, he's
So
1-3 right now, so if that's not enough adversity, I don't know what is. Maybe 1-8.
hey, like the tough season start, man. That's what I'm saying. Our schedule only gets easier after the first 8 weeks. So
So 1-7.
I think we're probably going to be 3-5.
Sure. Um, Two more teams. New England, a team that wasn't really expected to do much, but at least be competitive so far. They've stayed competitive? Question mark. Except last Sunday. But they just haven't really been able to pull much out, and a lot of questions on Mac Jones, and we just still haven't seen enough to really say he's the next guy for Bill Belichick's offense. So is it time to press the panic button on the Mac Jones experiment?
I'm absolutely pressing it. I'm holding it down until everything is fixed. You've got Bill Belichick as your head coach. Regardless of who you are, you know he's one of the best head coaches in the league. Mac Jones is not it. Uh, then again, the pieces on that offense, they don't really have the weapons. We've talked about that multiple weeks on this podcast that they don't have true number one weapons on that team. Ramondre Stevenson is a great back, but when you know you're going to be running the ball and you have to turn to the pass game, when Mac Jones can't do it or his weapons can't get open, it's a serious problem and it shows. So, I mean, I think they've got to find a new guy, or they've got to finally get Mac Jones some weapons. Regardless, they've got to figure out what they've got to do for next season because I don't think they can right this ship.
And probably the last one that had any sort of real uh, playoff contention statuses to begin the year, the Giants. Um, I have an answer for this one, but I'll see what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because they've had a tough schedule. So part of it is like, okay, they've had a tough schedule, so all right, that's partially the problem, but also they almost lost to the Cardinals,
Yeah,
which
they
are
looked
supposed
horrible in the first half against the Cardinals. It took a Herculean effort to get back in that game.
exactly. Then again, the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals. So you look at that as like, what are the Cardinals? Are the Cardinals just a rock, paper, scissors match with the Cowboys and the Giants? Like,
Probably because the Giants got absolutely kicked out of the stadium by the Cowboys within like the first half.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the Giants. The kind of some of the same things with the Patriots. Like they don't really have a number one weapon either. You know, with Saquon out, especially when Saquon's there, they've got him to do a bunch of things for him, and I think that opens up a lot of the passing game for them. But they haven't been able to see him on the field. So, and that defense is not what it was last year. They're not hitting home with their blitzes as much. They're not doing all the things they used to. I think they're hitting the panic button as well, and I think that uh, them signing him after watching him destroy the Vikings two times was definitely not the good move because we had the worst defense. What were sorry, the second worst defense in the league last year. So I think Giants front office should have known better than to give Daniel Jones that contract.
Now, I would probably say you're just like slamming it constantly right now because Daniel Jones did not look like any sort of representative of what he was doing last year. He made a lot of horrible throws, even the coach with the whole tablet throwing to the ground, um, basically at Daniel Jones' feet. You can see the frustration just from them because, like, you look back to the Jets game where they all have Zach Wilson's back and basically all went to him after he had the fumble and whatever. You do not see that with Daniel Jones. You see no fight, no emotion, just like a blank stare. And if that's your quarterback, then you do not have a franchise quarterback because you don't even have a like another leader on that offense to really pull it together.
I agree. And it's interesting. They're out of the two quarterbacks last year, who would we have expected the teammates to rally behind? Daniel Jones or Zach Wilson? It truly is a different narrative this year.
I'm not sure about that one. No, I know they all wanted more with Mike White than Zach Wilson, but I didn't really see that with Daniel Jones either last season. So it more just went in the direction from it being 50-50 rather than
Right.
it being a full swing.
Right. Well, the Giants made the playoffs and Daniel Jones performed well last year. Granted, it wasn't against good defenses, but he we got to see some of that last year is what I was saying, where Zach Wilson more of the same of not really doing anything um last season. So I think it's just how they progressed to this season. The Giants have took a nosedive, whereas the Jets, you're kind of looking at Zach Wilson, you're going like, is he taking a good step? Is Rodgers mentoring him? Like what's going on there? Because against the Chiefs, he looked great. For first quarterback to officially outduel Patrick Mahomes, um, in a Mahomes start in college and in the NFL in terms of passing yards, passing touchdowns, all that stuff. Um, I mean, they tied in passing touchdowns, but like in terms of passing yards and QBR, Zach Wilson beat Patrick Mahomes,
But
which
then had that fumble, which is just classic Zach Wilson.
he did, but he didn't have two picks.
Well, for that segment, we'll probably do that at the halfway point and then the third quarter point, and then going into the playoffs, especially with those who just got eliminated or the ones who went horrible, Bears. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens then, or any playoff teams that are basically limping in, like we've seen in the past, specifically like the eight seeds or whatever. But that's all I really have. You got anything else, Tyler?
No, I think that's it. I think week five was our worst week, both for both of us. It was worse for me than it was for Matt, but both of us did not do well in our predictions this week. So definitely a surprising week last week. But I mean, we're still gonna go on, make some predictions. That video will come out a little bit later. So just be on the lookout for that. We've been getting an increase in views lately. So if you guys are watching the videos and are staying till the end, definitely let us know what you guys want to hear. If you want us to talk about a certain team a little bit more, maybe reflect on a different game, uh, give a few highlights or an idea for something you want us to do, definitely let us know down in the comments. Definitely drop a like if you enjoy what we're doing. So until then, we'll see you guys in the prediction video.
So Tyler, do you know how to count?
Do you know how to count?
Did you count the amount of wins you got this week?
I did not actually, but I know I'm 42 and 22.
Because I was 11-5 this week. So speak for
Ah,
yourself.
interesting. You did have a good. I forgot. I knew you came a couple games. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, sorry. I meant to say that before the late slot games. So, that did not include the Chargers, Cowboys, 49ers, Chiefs, and Seahawks, which I got right. So, without that, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went 5 and 6. So I was losing that one. My bad. Yeah, Matt and I had talked about that after the first slot of games on Sunday. So by then I was looking at it and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm losing
And
all of
before
these.
all the comebacks and whatever happened, like when your Vikings were losing,
Oh yeah, that's right. That's why it was such a turnaround. Yeah, we were talking to uh during those games, because at that point the Commanders were beating the Eagles. The Colts were coming back against the Rams.
Denver was
Uh
losing.
Denver was losing. Uh yeah. So I mean all those games were going wrong for me. I also picked, the Falcons instead of the Jaguars and the Packers instead of the Lions. So I mean, yeah, definitely looked really bad for me, and I thought Matt was just like 2 ahead of me, which I think he might have been maybe 3 or 4 was actually the right number. Um, but yes, with those games being flipped and then adding in the last 5, definitely, he did have a good game, and I actually had a decent one. I actually think I went 8 and 8, so I think I got half of them right. So
I went 11
thanks
and
for the
5. So
thanks for the reminder on that one.
yeah. Well, you're saying we both did bad. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Right. I'm trying to. Yeah, I actually didn't even do bad either. I got 10. Interesting.
So I got one game back.
You got 1 game back on me.
Hey, the comeback begins now.
So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Tyler,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I got 10. All right. It doesn't show me how many I got right for the week. It
no.
just highlights each game.
It,
So
it just tells you how much you've gotten. During the week, it will show you how much you've gotten for the week, but afterwards, it's just like, no.
right. Yeah. Sorry that I hadn't really looked at it since halfway through the 1 o'clock games on Sunday. So yeah, what wasn't looking bright for me, but apparently it turned out to be a decent week.
Tyler pulling out the fake news in this podcast episode.
Always, always got to keep them on their toes.
Also, earlier when you were talking about the pick, I think you meant the one by Quandre Diggs that was returned for quite a few yards. That one was a deep pass. The pick six was a 2 yard pass.
Oh yeah, it was Diggs. Yeah. Sorry, I just know the longest pass of the night was a pick.
Yeah,
I only assumed it was the Witherspoon.
no,
So,
it was first and goal at the 5. Witherspoon picked it at the 3 and then took it back 97 yards. It would be
gotcha.
their longest play of the night and Daniel Jones' only touchdown for the night
Yep.
and only home touchdown of the year so far.
Oh, Giants. What have you done?
Also, while you were watching this, somewhere, somehow, Daniel Jones just got sacked.
And down he goes. Daniel Jones sacked by Brooks. That's the 11th time today. Just kidding. It was the 10th time today because apparently one was on the receiver.
Well, that will do it for this episode. Any closing remarks?
Keep Skull alive and watch that prediction video that's going to come out soon.
Peace.